Whether it's your first or 50th, every run in Risk of Rain 2 ends the same way.
No!
My name is Kodiak, and in today's video, we'll be breaking down some of the strategies you can use for a cleaner run in Risk of Rain. When it comes to Risk of Rain 2, experience is everything. The beauty with roguelike indie games is that the more exposure you have to them, the better you get. It's a simple formula that has proven effective time and time again. Whenever you fire up a game of Risk of Rain, you're pretty much starting at square one. Sure, maybe you've unlocked a new item, or perhaps you're playing a new survivor, but at the end of the day, you're back at ground zero. The only difference is you've had exposure. What I'm getting at is this. No matter how frustrating it is, whether you're dying in your first zone or your fifth, keep trying again and again, because whether you realize it or not, you are getting better. You'll start to identify enemy behaviors, movement patterns, and of course learn how to deal with them. For instance, take the Wandering Vagrant. The first time you fight these guys, you probably won't realize that you have to hide behind an object to avoid their shockwave. Well, now you know, and you can go into your next run with that knowledge ready to take on a new challenge. Experience is everything, and the beauty of the game is it doesn't take long to learn the abilities of each enemy. There are only a handful in the game, and their abilities are pretty cut and dry. So if you're struggling to get further in a run, just keep at it and soak in as much as you can so you're better prepared for that next run. I'd be lying to you if I said Risk of Rain 2 wasn't a loot game. In fact, loot is what makes or breaks your character during a run. There are a few loose rules that can help you build your character's kit. For instance, attack speed and crit items are valuable on every survivor. 10 stacks of the crit glasses give you a 100% chance to crit on hit, which is a huge step up no matter what survivor you choose to play. Likewise, attack speed items like the Soldier's Syringe mean more attacks in one way or another, which means a higher damage potential. Outside of attack speed and crit, everything else is a niche that will synergize differently depending on the survivor you choose. I plan on breaking all those specific items down in survivor guides in the near future, so be sure to keep a lookout for those videos. Now, knowing that attack speed and crit are pretty much always valuable is nice, but you may be asking yourself, how do I control that? Well, the answer is simple. Usually, you can't. Your goal every time you enter a new biome is to loot every chest you can, building up an arsenal that, if you find the right 3D printer, you can use to exchange for your perfect synergy. A great example is this. You're playing the Huntress, going on your run, collecting everything you can, and then suddenly you find a 3D printer for the backup magazine, which adds another charge to your secondary skill. Well, because you've been collecting everything and anything under the sun, you have enough items to get as many as you want. That moment could be the turning point in your run, but only because you were prepared. Your goal is to leave the biome with as close to 0 gold as possible, and while you don't want to hang around a level too long, finding those untapped chests and burning those shrines will ultimately help you in the long run. Once you have a couple runs under your belt, you should also hop into the logbook and start identifying new items to unlock. Items like Predatory Instinct take a little planning to unlock, but go a long way to making your runs a lot smoother. While knowledge is nice and getting loads of items is a plus, at the end of the day, Risk of Rain 2 is about the combat, fighting off hordes of enemies and pushing through to the next biome until eventually the wheels come off the bus. Now, my tips for a clean run are my tips, and while they work for me, they may not work for you, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. There are no hard and fast rules when it comes to combat, just that you need to kill and not be killed, so keep that in mind during this section. Whether it be sprinting, running, or jumping, movement is key to your survival. A good run can quickly go south because enemies had an opportunity to converge on your position, and all of a sudden, you find yourself surrounded. I'll use the phrase stick and move for lack of a better descriptor, but don't be afraid to flit in and around combat if it means enemies have to move to keep chase. I'm not saying avoid a fight, but when push comes to shove, the more mobile you are, the harder you are to hit. Oftentimes, you won't be able to simply run around in circles, and that's where jumping comes into play. I'm a huge fan of the jump and fire strategy, but it does take some practice. For players that struggle to aim, this may not come naturally, but it accomplishes the same goal as running and can be just as effective at dodging incoming attacks. Unfortunately, when push comes to shove, sometimes you just have to retreat, and that's a fine option too. There's no shame in taking a minute to heal back up. No one is getting any medals for participation, so take a few seconds, get out of combat, heal yourself up, and get back into the fight. Enemies in Risk of Rain 2 can come from anywhere, down below, up above, or if you're a magma worm, a mixture of both. That being said, the rules of combat still apply, and fighting enemies from the high ground can be a big help. Not only is shooting things from this perspective easier, but it also makes landing your AoE shots a breeze. Now, shooting straight into the ground isn't great if you're trying to line up piercing attacks like Multi's Rebar Puncher or the Commando's Phase Round, but it can still be a valuable strategy if you're just looking to clean out a particularly dense set of enemies. Another piece of advice is to always know where there is cover, like a wall or rock. Most enemies in the game have projectiles, and while dodging them is fine, sometimes you just need to dip behind a wall to avoid taking damage. It's easy to ignore this tip because you trust your ability to dodge, but when things get crazy, there is no better feeling than taking a second to collect yourself behind a wall. It doesn't require a cooldown and can't be destroyed, so use your surroundings to your advantage. Risk of Rain 2 is all about learning from your mistakes, but it's that experience of failure that helps prepare you for your next run. Soon enough, you'll be investing more time into longer runs, unlocking new items, and well on your way to an absolute chaotic experience. But if you still need a hand, we're here to help. Leave us a comment below if you have any questions about Risk of Rain, and remember you can always join our team on Discord where we'll be happy to answer any and all questions you may have about the game. Also, if you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing to The Game Gurus. Your simple thumbs up goes a long way to helping our videos reach more players like you. My name is Kodiak, and from everyone here at The Game Gurus, thanks for watching, and play on.